Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
We've been away for a while, but it's time to welcome back the Reconcilable Differences duo of Danny and Jane as we get to talk about things in our lives from a couple's viewpoint. And today we're going to talk about a variety of things, including snow and trying to keep your house looking great, kind of trying to keep yourself looking great, and also, with the Super Bowl looming, the vagaries of how a city can be uplifted by sports teams. Jane lived in Chicago during the Michael Jordan years, and of course we are now what will be termed, and already are, the Patrick Mahomes years, and cities can really get a boost out of it. We can't have a parade this year, but we certainly can have some celebrations, and the city feels good about itself. So feeling good about yourself, feeling good about your city, feeling good about the fact we didn't get dumped on today as far as snow is concerned. All these things are in the mix today on Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane, and our newest episode comes your way coming up next. On Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, it's presented by Cinematic Vision.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with David Schmidt from Private Capital. And David, tell us more about your outstanding firm.
Thanks, Danny. Here at Private Capital, we focus on return on asset. In today's world, it is survival of the fittest. We look at things from all angles and try to figure out what works best for you. The changes we will see this next year on assets will be monumental. The key to success is knowledge. Know where you want to go, and we'll be here along the way. To find out more, give us a call at 816-221-7775.
David Schmidt from Private Capital with the best service for you. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from no-nonsense-healthcareninja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's become a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting no-nonsense-healthcareninja.com and let Chad help you. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back, and we dodged a bullet today and didn't get very much snow, and I didn't have to shovel, and I have written about the vagaries of snow. I have spoken about the vagaries of snow, and I will say this, I would be very happy at this point in my life if I never shoveled snow again or drove in snow again. I think people who follow this podcast or read my book may have heard this story, but I very well could not be here right now because of snow. I should have died. I wrote a chapter of my book was called Waiting for Impact, and on the New York State Thruway, I should have been hit by 2 tractor trailers. Absolute miracle that I wasn't, and you can read about that if you like, or we've talked about it on other podcasts, but several years in upstate New York sort of certified for me that I can live without snow. It's pretty to look at. I actually like shoveling the driveway and then having the satisfaction of it being concluded. But when it's heavy, wet snow, it's no fun. We all know that. Last storm we got, there was a bunch of ice. We've each had our vagaries as far as snow is concerned. Me with the near-death experience. You messed up your knees for life because of snow, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes. Ex-boyfriend was a racing bicyclist who immediately, upon introduction to friends, would say, I only have 2% body fat. Well, we were in Winter Park, and I hadn't skied in years, and all of a sudden, he doesn't even turn when he skis. He just goes straight downhill, and I was trying to keep up, and after 3/4 of the day on that, I suddenly realized I couldn't move, and that was the end of my skiing adventures.
That was the end of your knees, kind of, too.
Indeed. I didn't walk straight for a month.
Right, and I think that's part of maybe trying to keep up and, show that absolutely are not going to lag behind. I think that's part of your nature.
Yeah, I guess it was. You just think you can do, especially when I was quite a bit younger. So you just think you can do anything. But I remember, like, as a kid growing up in a small town in southeast Kansas, we used to get epic snows, and we were like only blocks from school. But when a snow day came, we were thrilled. But it was really a snow day that was, made sense. Yesterday and today, I was sort of shocked when I saw all the schools that were closed. But I'm sure, the ice could be an issue with buses and kids walking. But still.
When I was growing up, we would watch it snow at night. And we had very good snow removal. The town I lived in had pretty high taxes, but the public services were fantastic, and unfortunately fantastic in this case, because we knew that if the snow stopped by 2 o'clock in the morning, we were going to go to school because they were going to get it clear enough to, even if it was 8 inches of snow, it didn't matter. And so I would wake up in the middle of the night and look out, and it'd be 3:30 in the morning, and good, it's still snowing. They won't be able to get it all.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, and it's funny because I have clients in Minneapolis, and they showed me they had photos of the snow yesterday. Oh my God. And they know how to get it done, even in that horrendous weather. And it's beautiful. But it's only for deer, elk, and buffalo.
Right. Looking out at the snow, it's pretty. There's no question about that. Once you get that sweet smile off your face of seeing the snow come down or how nice it looks in the trees, anything after that, I can live without, and thankfully we didn't have to deal with it today.
You know what I always wonder? Who are the people who are willing to drive these snow plows in the middle of the night? Who are these people?
People who get a lot of money for doing it.
Exactly.
They live for these times when they can get that truck out there and make some extra money from
Do they know they're waking us all up?
I don't think they care. Maybe they know, and they don't wake everybody up. They don't wake me up. So
that's another story.
It is another story. And of course, another thing that struck me here as I'm getting set for today's podcast, I just completed a lengthy workout. Then I went in, took a shower. Then I put some silly cream on my face that says it's going to take care of your wrinkles. Then I blew dry my hair and everything else. And, I'm not a very young man anymore, but I still really do care about the way I look. And what has struck me many times, and I've said it to myself, I don't know if I've said it out loud, I think in general, vanity is a good thing. I think vanity generally creates, it can be taken to an extreme, but people exercise because they don't want to gain weight. Generally, there are some health benefits, mental health benefits, certainly, but people, do that, so that's a healthy activity. I think caring about, the way you present yourself and everything else is a real positive and creates, I think, a lot of fun. Just the idea of, getting gifts that are nice clothes or going out and shopping for yourself for clothes. I think these are all generally good things.
Oh my gosh, and it's proven that you usually even do a better job. If you look good in your work, it makes you feel more confident. You don't have to have vanity, necessarily. To look good, you should, and having a sense of humor, that's a whole new thing coming out, having a good sense of humor about life, but also making sure that you don't look like a slob. I just wonder what's going to happen when the pandemic, starts shutting down and people start having to, not just wear their sweats into their home office every day.
Well, there are so many people who have talked about the fact they'd be on a Zoom meeting and they may well have a nice shirt on or something like that, but they're literally sitting there in their underwear, perhaps.
Exactly.
And we've seen it in basketball coaches now, because everything was sort of relaxed and they used to wear suits and ties on the sidelines, but there's no fans there anyway. And now we're seeing coaches that maybe forever will just wear a jumpsuit or, the equivalent of that. See Bill Self on the sidelines now, no shirt and tie. I think that's kind of a negative thing, actually.
Yeah, it's funny. I watch old movies. In fact, somebody posted this really cool 1930s photo of Union Station and all these people waiting for the trains in the main grand room, and everyone was impeccably dressed. All the men had suits and hats. Women had long dresses on. I can't imagine. I always think about what the fabric must have been like then, heavier and itchier and yucky. But boy, what a different look than when we go into Union Station today.
Right, and you'd even see pictures at the ballpark on Sunday, and people would have gone to church maybe, and then they go to the ballpark and they're quote-unquote dressed to the nines. I mean, it was a big thing. Negro League was really famous for that, for the fans coming out on Sundays and really being decked out, and it was a real thing. It was kind of like the ball game version of Easter or something like that.
Well, it's so funny. I was doing some research years ago at the UMKC library, and I found fabulous old ads, like from the Plaza, from Shaznoff's, Wolf Brothers, Swanson's. Does anyone remember Ann Lehman's, the children's store? Well, when I was a kid, this is what my parents did for me. I mean, this was our big moment when we would drive to the big city of Kansas City, and they would take me to Ann Lehman's to get my red patent leather shoes and some little outfits. And that's how we were raised. And so I know for people that I work with that are young, 10 or 20 years younger than me, they have sort of a different aesthetic. And I still feel better about myself when I'm a little bit more, I take care.
I absolutely agree with that. And now through the years, I've always cared about my appearance, and people have, to a fault probably, and people have made fun of it. I carry a brush around in my little bag and stuff like that. That's often
your man bag.
Often lampooned, to say the least. But I think both of us in younger times, we each sort of tried to cultivate some kind of a look maybe that was a little bit different. I've seen you in sort of flamboyant scarves and hats and whatever, and I went through a phase where I wore Indiana Jones hats all the time. I went through another phase where I literally went, and I would dress nicely, but I literally went like 15 years at least, where I didn't wear any socks. I never wore socks. Ever.
Disgusting.
And
disgusting. I would never have dated you.
I wear sneakers with no socks.
Oh.
I got married the first time in sneakers with no socks in a tuxedo. And people literally, when I worked in Utica, New York, this was known. And Utica's a fairly big city, but not huge. And the radio station was very popular there, local radio station. And so people, you were sort of a star, and there was no social media, but we did print ads in the newspaper with caricatures. So, I was somewhat recognizable. And literally in the middle of the winter, these horrible winters, I'd be dressed walking down the street nicely, except with sneakers on. And people would literally come up to me, complete strangers, and lift up my pant leg. they'd say, hey, aren't you Danny Clinkscale? And I'd say, can you hold on a second? And they would lift up my pant leg to make sure that I didn't have socks on, because they didn't believe that I wouldn't be wearing socks on.
Funny. Oh my God.
But you'll like this, though. When I got married for the first time, all the the groomsmen, they all wore sneakers, brand new sneakers. I think they wore socks, but at sort of my suggestion, my dad refused. He refused. He wore nice, shiny shoes and socks.
Good for your dad. Good for your. I totally get it. I mean, it's that was your sort of calling card. Calling card. I bet nobody knows what a calling card is anymore. Speaking of, my mother had calling cards for us when we were kids. That has been gone for probably 50 years, but my mother had them for us. But it's funny, when I was in college, I was in the arts, as a singer, opera singer, and so we were more flamboyant in general. I remember wearing like stiletto heels, blue, those blue bloomy pants, and my hair, I had a side ponytail coming out of my head. You did anything you could to look unique, but that was partly because of the world I was living in. But
Right.
We had a blast. It made it more fun, and somehow I could wear those shoes. I can't do that now.
Well, what is the old line from the Saturday Night Live skit? It is better to look good than feel good.
True.
Fernando Lamas, was it? Yeah, Fernando Lamas. That was
True,
it. They
true.
were lampooning that back in, I think, the 70s and early 80s. But I'm sure we will go out today together to run a couple of errands and such, and we'll be not dressed to the nines, but we'll give it an effort, right?
That's right, Danny.
That is absolutely right. We got more coming up on Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane. It's part of our Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday. Each and every Wednesday, we do a whole variety of things here, our couples podcast, music podcasts, all kinds of great things here, and it's all sponsored by Cinematic Visions.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Right now, it's more important than ever to support local businesses. And 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence is open and ready to take care of you. Make 23rd Street Brewery part of your KU game day experience, whether you watch the game there or grab curbside pickup for your tailgates or watch parties.
But not just game days. 23rd Street Brewery is great any day of the week, and when the weather's nice, you can take advantage of their heaters on the patio. 23rd Street Brewery is open daily from 11:30 to 9 for dine-in, carry-out, curbside pickup, and can even help with your catering needs.
So support local and visit a Lawrence favorite, 23rd Street Brewery.
It's time to visit once again with Dr. Brad Woodle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. And Dr. Brad, your group has reached a significant milestone in receiving a prestigious award.
Danny, we've been honored for the 10th year in a row to receive the 5-Star Service Award from Integrity Doctors. And what this means is that all of our offices throughout Kansas City have made sure to give people excellent chiropractic and acupuncture care, be on time, and do a very complete and thorough job, and have great responses back from patients.
I know firsthand because I was just treated, for instance, today by you. You have a wide range of fantastic services.
Absolutely. Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies, rehab, anything that you need to keep you well in bones, muscles, joints, and nerves.
And I can't say how much it's benefited me in the time I've coming here. Upwards of 2 years, my back has improved 100%. And you can have that same kind of treatment too. For more information and your chance for a healthier way of life, visit asfca.com/Danny today. Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the pure gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML-830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new smart laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and here's a little anecdote from today that relates to what I was going to talk about anyway. By the way, these ideas are all mine, so you can blame me if the topics are not up to your standard. So Jane comes down after taking a nice warm bath today and on this cold day, and comes down the stairs with the dogs in the morning, and I was dressed to go work out, but I had decided that I was going to clip my toenails before I started. And so Jane ducks her head in and says, "I sure hope that you're not just leaving those things on the carpet and you're putting them in the trash can." I was annoyed, but that's okay. Anyway, it's just an indication. The other day, Jane, you were walking around cleaning little dings off the doors. Very fastidious about our house and the way it's presented. We have a lovely little home, and it's all to your credit. And you mentioned your mom with her calling cards and things like that. That certainly is probably one of the positive things that you gleaned from your mother, the attention to detail that you bring to our home.
You know, she always had an eye for design, I think, and she'd never talked about it necessarily, but she always, worked with interior designers, at least I know on the last home that they built and we had. And so I sort of grew up with that aesthetic interest. And also me being in the arts, I'm around a lot of creative people. And I believe your home is your haven, and you need to, feel like it represents you, but it also represents a feeling. Everything from the colors on the walls to the type of setting you have when you're watching TV or when you walk in the room. Other people, it doesn't have to be large spaces necessarily. You can make something out of very small spaces and make them so amenable to your lifestyle. Why live in a dumpy environment? It's the same thing with dress. You feel better if you walk into a room that is aesthetically pleasing, but also comfortable. So I kind of look at both those things. But I'm also thinking about how we can live with our silly dogs, and that kind of affects some things too. So I give up on certain things.
Well, I know recently you just get very excited about these two throw pillows on the couch that I sit on to watch television, but during the day, it is not presented in that way. These pillows, and you're very excited, and you would say to me, "Hey, what do you think of those? Did you see the new pillows over there?" And I
didn't even notice.
Well,
didn't even notice the new pillows on the newly upholstered couch, leather couch that we have.
Well, one thing that you've always talked about is that if we entertained as much as you plan our house for entertainment, we would be having a whole lot more fun. We haven't entertained a lot. I mean, we've entertained some, but you're always kind of thinking of that and saying, this would be great if we have some people over, for a dinner party or whatever. And I'm like, what? It's just.
I know. Well, we're partly in a pandemic, but it's true. We get so busy anymore.
Yeah, we tend to do most of our entertaining actually on our deck, and it's the running joke, but it is always true that we have a lovely living room, and it's a nice place to sit, and the couches. And I think some of the only times we've used it has been because of Zoom. Even when you do have people over, and you have a nice space, everybody ends up in the kitchen.
Everyone's in the kitchen on the deck, or in the dining room area, which is right off the kitchen. And the good news about our living room is, I rehearse in there, and we have tall ceilings, so that's one of the reasons why I like that room. I'm probably more in there than anybody else. But you're right. People don't use the living room hardly anymore. I always laugh when I go into houses, especially even new construction, where they have a special separate dining room anymore, because it's like, what? But I know a lot of people still do have dinner parties, but we tend to have a more casual fun.
Right, we do, and our house is a great combination of casual and very elegant, I would say. And as you said, a big part of that is the dogs. But there's certainly we have made some, especially for little Charlie. He's certainly created some issues for our home that we'll talk about maybe another time.
I haven't got a doggy spa yet, so
there you go. Well, we are just a little bit away, a week and a half away from the Super Bowl, and what I find funny is my lovely bride here will enjoy a sporting event or three occasionally, but only every so often, like in 2014 and 2015. Of course, I wasn't around then. I was traveling with the Royals during those times, so when the Royals were in the playoffs. But it just struck me again when the other day, as the Chiefs were playing the AFC Championship game, Jane was making a lovely roast of some sort. What was it?
My pork roast.
Pork roast.
Glazed apricot pork roast.
She was making pork roast during the early portion of the game. So she was up in the kitchen area watching the game, and I was downstairs in our TV room, or whatever we would call it, den. I don't know. And at least 10 times early in the game, she's just shrieking at the television about the way that things are going. And Jane really isn't that big a fan at all, but right now, when the whole city is engaged and these are really big games, and Patrick Mahomes is everything, you really get into it.
I love football. It's terrible. It's terrible because I know how violent it is. I've been on the sidelines. Like I spent a great deal of time when I was singing at the Lyric Opera in Chicago. It was the Bulls and Bears' best years, and I lived right on Michigan Avenue, and it was so exciting to see a city that was totally immersed in their sports teams. It was a sense of camaraderie in the city that I hadn't experienced. So it's been really nice to see Kansas City rally around, when these teams are really, really doing well. And I can't help myself. I get really competitive when I'm watching, and when I watch someone like Mahomes, he's so unique and he does such unusual things. It's like, to me, it's like ballet. It's like when things are really going well, it's like it's like a piece of art to me, and you get excited about it. You can't help yourself.
As you mentioned, you were in Chicago when Michael Jordan and the Bulls were playing, and obviously there was certainly some artistry there.
Oh my God! He is the ultimate star. You almost are surprised he didn't study ballet because of the way he moves. Just naturally, there was a grace about him. But we just had a blast. I could look out my window and see him and everyone, in the parades going down. You didn't necessarily have to be out in the streets where I lived. I could look, right out my window. And, it's been really interesting because when I first moved here in the early 90s, I was sort of shocked at the sort of chip on their shoulder in Kansas City about not having winning teams and blah, blah, blah. But that's partly up to the fans. And so it's been nice that I feel like they've come around more. Like even when their teams aren't doing as well, they're still pulling for them. You got to have some of that. You can't always have a chip on your shoulder. So it's been nice to see an evolution in our city.
And, of course, you carry that on through the years. We had the great opportunity to go to the American Century Celebrity Golf Tournament back when Michael Jordan was still playing in it. And you got to see him sashay out to the driving range in these absolutely gorgeous linen pants.
The most beautiful linen pants I've ever seen on a man in my life. And, when you're that tall and that, he's kind of intimidating in a way, but, stunning.
Right. And a 6'5" or 6 man, with perfect skin and this sunshine out and just is made to wear those golf clothes.
Unbelievable. I mean, we saw some really interesting people, including what's our ex-vice president, Dan Quayle. That was interesting. I mean, that's another story. But there were some beautiful. Dan. The other quarterback,
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino was right in front of us on the driving range. Not a bad specimen there either.
But I know you've talked about it, and everybody talks about it. How right now the city gets so engaged. And what are we talking about? What our arguments now can be put aside a little bit. That's maybe another thing, especially in this day and age when everything is so contentious, that we can sort of unify around at least something.
Absolutely. And it's so exciting. And then to be up against Tom Brady, that's going to be really interesting because they're so different physically, so different personalities, and they play the game so differently. But I still believe that the youth of Patrick Mahomes and his creativity is going to win.
There you go. There's some football insights from the mind
Can't
of
you tell?
Jane Siemens with a big smile on her face as we conclude another edition of Reconcilable Differences. And as I said, as a community, we can reconcile our differences these days around the Kansas City Chiefs.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.